In this video, I'll be looking at 3 true 4K dash cameras from 70mi. These are their 3 flagship dash cameras currently selling today, and I'll be telling you key points from each of these 3 dash cameras so that you can make an informed decision about which one is best for you. So we'll be looking at the 4K Omni from 70mi. This is their premium 4K dash camera with a rotating design for full 360 coverage. We have the 70mi T800, which is their ultimate 3-channel dash camera with true 4K front and rear cameras, as well as a internal interior facing camera as well. And then finally we have the A800 SE from 70mi. This is their entry-level 4K dash camera that also offers good quality 4K footage and crisp high definition recording. So a feature-packed comparison video of image quality and checking out their key features so you can make a good decision about which of these is best for you. Now, all of these cameras offer true 4K recording. Now, what that means is basically a lot of dash cameras selling over the last year or two claim to be 4K, but they're really upscaled 2K or similar. Now, what that means in real life is that if you were to rely on high details of something from a distance, for example, such as a number plate, and you really had to zoom into that number plate, if you're getting upscaled 2K to 4K, then the detail won't be there and you might not see the number plate or a specific detail that you might need to use for any insurance claims, for example. Now, their high-end models, the T800 and the 4K Omni, are equipped with the Sony Starvis 2 sensor, the IMX678, which brings major improvements over the previous generation with a 68% larger sensor, 90% greater light sensitivity, 2.5 times as good wide dynamic range, 100% better low light performance, and 30% lower power consumption. The entry-level A800 SE comes with a different sensor, so that's worth taking on board across all these 3 dash cameras. So this comes with a GC8613 sensor. This allows it to be a more affordable option out of these 3 cameras, whilst also delivering true 4K clarity. Now, with these lens optics and sensors, that allows these cameras to allow them to have a better high dynamic range for better clarity and balanced exposure, as well as a larger aperture for better low light performance. The 4K Omni and the T800 come with an f4.7 aperture, whilst the A800 SE comes with a f1.55 aperture. Now, 70mi has some leading image quality technology. They have something called a My Color Vivid Plus solution, which basically offers optimized daytime recording with sharper image quality and intelligent light adjustment, license plate area optimization, and windshield color optimization. Now, you'll find these on both of the top 2 flagship dash cameras from 70mi, which also has that Sony Starvis 2 sensor. They also have something called Night Owl Vision, which refines nighttime recording clarity with better exposure control, noise reduction, which offers clear and reliable footage, even at low light conditions. And finally, we've got 70mi's Lumi Vision function. This offers enhanced parking recording security at night, which detects ambient light changes and switches to full color at night mode to allow you to capture better enhanced details whilst parked, where critical evidence may never be missed. Okay, first things first, let's check out what comes inside the box of the T800. Okay, so here's what you get inside the box. You get quite a thick user manual, customer service card, and rear camera user manual. You get a 512GB Class 3 SD card for the recording of the dashcam footage. You get 2 sets of electromagnetic stickers for your windscreen for easy installation. You get 2 spare adhesive pads for both rear and front-facing cameras. You get the T800 camera itself. You get its rear camera. There is a dual USB-A socket to power the camera and an additional socket to power a secondary device, such as like charging your phone, for example. Here is the mounting plate for the windscreen with its adhesive transfer already pre-attached. And then you get 2 main cables. The first is the main cable to connect to the main front-facing camera. And then you have quite a rather chunky rear-facing camera that attaches the main camera to the rear-facing camera. That is both dual USB-C. Okay, so looking over the main camera then, it is definitely a larger than a previous 70mi camera that I've had in my car. Probably a little bit smaller than this, but this obviously has the inner workings for a rear-facing camera, which is also infrared, so it works in the night and the dark cabin. And then you've got this main front facing camera at the top here with some vertical adjustability, but no horizontal adjustability. So do have to factor that in when you go through the installation. You've got a mounting bracket point up here, which the mounting bracket clips onto and slides into. Passive cooling holes at the top with dual USB-C connection for power, and also to daisy chain to the rear of the car and the rear facing camera as well. Over on the left hand side, we've got a micro SD card slot there, power button to turn the camera on and off, as well as sleep the main screen on the front. And then you've got a speaker on the side there for playing back video on the actual device itself, as well as assistant based warnings as well. On the right hand side, there's a reset switch on the top there. Some cooling for the camera, no doubt, for the internal facing camera. You've got some degree, I'd say, probably less than 90 degrees, almost 90 degrees pitch vertical of that internal facing camera. Again, no left and right rotation on the camera as well. On the back here, we've got quite a large display, which you can also use with the 4 function buttons to not only change settings, view back content, put picture in picture between all 3 video feeds, as well as framing the camera up when you first install it too. Underneath there is again some passive holes on the bottom for cooling, and that is pretty much the main camera. Jumping over to the rear camera then, we've got pretty much the same situation where we've got the rear facing camera there. Again, this is a 4K lens on the back there with the same Sony IMX678 sensor on there, so hopefully we'll get some very good quality captures both day and night, as well as HDI functionality as well. On the side here, we've got the USB-C port to power the camera and send data back and forth to the main front camera, which is basically doing all the heavy lifting. And on the bottom, we've got the pad pre-installed, ready to be stuck to the rear view of the car. Passive holes on the side there, some branding as well. Nothing on this side. And then the whole thing rotates a full 360 degrees. So you've got full rotation there. And that also rotates that USB port on the side. Again, no sideways functionality, so you do have to make sure that you mount that perfectly fine using the camera feed whilst you're installing it into your car. Right, next up we have their entry model, the 4K A800 SE. As I said earlier, this is their entry level, but it is still packed with lots of key features and hardware improvements over many other dash cameras that are selling today. It is a dual channel camera, so you've got the front and rear facing camera, with a 4K at the front and 1080p recording at the back. We've got that f1.55 aperture, so it's going to help with low light recording. And it has all those intelligent features such as buffered recording, collision detection, parking, smart parking guardian, and it also features a supercapacitor to help with its power system and durability during extreme weather conditions. Okay, let's check out what comes inside the box. Okay, so here's what you get inside the box. You get a user manual and camera rear user manual. You get the main front camera itself and the rear camera with a slight tethered cable and connector to the main cable. You've got a dual USB-A adapter for powering the dash camera and a secondary device. Here is the mounting plate for the camera and its adhesive pre-attached. You get 2 spare adhesives for the rear and the front, 2 sets of electrostatic transfers for easy mounting and removal. You have a prying tool. This is the rear cable. It's a little bit less as chunky as the earlier camera that we just looked at, the T800, slightly less. And that comes with a dedicated different connector at the back there to USB-C. And then finally, we've got another long cable, USB-A to USB-C to power the main front camera. Okay, looking over at the camera then, we've got a nice compact camera. Just to show you comparisons of the size, you pretty much got very much the same body minus the interior camera from the T800. Otherwise, the screens are pretty much near identical. They're both 3-inch IPS screens. However, its field of view from its front-facing camera is slightly different. The T800 has 146 degrees and the A800 SE has 140 degrees. So not that much significant, but just slightly narrower field of view on the A800. Both have GPS and ADAS support and both offer collision detection and time-lapse recording with the addition of AI motion detection on their more flagship T800. Both support 512GB of SD card storage. The T800 comes with a 512GB card supplied. However, the entry one being cheaper does not, so you do have to supply your own. The T800 supports Wi-Fi 6, as does the A800 for fast transmission. However, the A800 SE only has up to 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth speed compared to the 5 gigahertz bandwidth speed of the T800. So you might find a little bit more reliability in its signal as well as transmission speed on the T800. Now the T800 can also use the 4G accessory that we looked over earlier, but the A800 does not have that compatibility. So do factor that in if you do want to rely on remote monitoring. But otherwise we have the same 4 buttons at the bottom here, some function buttons that interact with the screen, which is not a touchscreen display, just like the T800. On the one side, we've got a power button, status indicator light on the top there, and the microphone input. Some passive cooling for the camera module, camera layers on the front, some cooling along the top here at the front of the camera. And on the other side, we've got the AV in for the rear camera, DC in for power, and you've got the SD card slot here for extra storage. And then these dots here are going to be the microphone to listen out for the ADAS and navigation beeps and bops. Underneath, we've got some more cooling here to flow through that whole camera to keep the whole thing cool. And generally, that's the A800 SE camera. Now the rear module is slightly smaller and a little bit different to the T800. It is not 4K unlike the T800, so you've got a less performing camera at the back, but it's a little bit more smaller, a little bit more discreet. The cable is fused to the module, but you do have a proprietary connector there to connect to its main daisy chain cable to the main camera up front. We've got full rotation, 360 degrees of that cable. That cable will spin as well, but no branding, some cooling on the back there to keep that camera module cool, and no rotation adjustment. So you do have to make sure that mounting is on point. And the same can go for that camera there. You've got vertical adjustment, quite wide actually. You've got quite a long sweep of vertical adjustment, but no horizontal and no rotation either. So you do have to make sure that camera is mounted square on during the installation. And finally, we've got the 4K Omni camera. This camera is slightly different to your most conventional dash cameras. This is their premium 4K dash camera that features a 360 design, and in turn that makes that form factor look a little bit different than your more conventional 4K dash cameras selling today, including the other 2 versions that we've seen earlier. Now again, like the T800, it offers the same native 4K true resolution. Alongside the T800, it also supports up to 60 FPS. Unlike the A800 here, that only goes up to 30 FPS. Now it has the same Starvis 2 sensor, the IMX678. So it has all that technology that I've described earlier. Different to the A800, we've got AI motion detection 2.0. So it's the second generation of what's on the T800, which apparently features Hall effect sensors to ensure smooth rotation and accurate object following. So if you were to have surveillance in the car enabled, that camera might actually follow that person as they pass your car. So it keeps them fully in view thanks to that 360 rotation. It will detect collisions in both front and rear recording. And with its Lumi Vision technology, that surveillance recording will also get enhanced with true full color nighttime recording. And again, it has the same supercapacitor inside to help with its general stability in extreme weather conditions. Okay, let's check out what's inside the box. Okay, so here's what you get inside the box. You get a user manual for the front and rear facing cameras. Got a prying tool and a USB-A adapter here to power the dash camera, as well as charge an additional accessory. You've got the main Omni 4K dash camera itself and its rear facing camera with a tailored cable. We've got a rear connecting cable between the main camera and the rear facing camera with its proprietary connector at one end to what looks like a micro HDMI connector. And we have its rather long power cable from USB-A to USB-C to power the camera. We've got 2 adhesive replacement pads and 2 sets of electrostatic transfers for easy installation and removal. Okay, so looking over the camera then, it is definitely different to the other cameras that we've seen. Let's just quickly compare sizes. So that's the size difference. It's definitely all nice and compact into one unit. And obviously it's a totally different experience in terms of what you're getting. You've got a 3-inch screen on the T800 and the A800 SE, but you've only got a 1.4-inch IPS screen on 4K Omni. Now up here we've got the 360 degree lens on its full 360 gimbal. That does lock out. It doesn't fully rotate indefinitely. So it can only, if it was to pan or track someone, it would actually stop and it probably would have to loop round to pick them up. As I said earlier, you've got the 1.4-inch IPS display here to view the content and navigate menus. Got a microphone up top, and here is its mount, which does flip up to allow you that perfect angle of the vertical rotation, because that lens doesn't actually move. It doesn't rotate, but obviously you've got horizontal rotation to get that position perfect, but you do have to worry about how you mount that and its orientation that way. Now the adhesive pad comes pre-attached, got 70mm branding on the side. On the mount as well, because that's a fixed position, it's not rotating, you've got the connection for the rear camera, and you've got the main connection to power the camera. Underneath here, you've got a small little flap to insert your micro SD card here. Again, doesn't come supplied like the A800, only the T800 comes with the 5GB card supplied. Over on the other side, we've got a power button and up and down arrows to navigate the menus. And then we've got passive cooling on the back here, as well as on the bottom. And then this little slot here on the back there, that's the internal speaker. It's a nice design though, space grey in colour, black on the bottom, looks like a Minion or Dalek if you were to put it that direction. But that's the general Omni 4K front-facing camera. Now the rear camera is pretty similar to the A800 SE, where it's not a rear 4K camera, it still only does 1080p. But I expect that the quality of that camera would be very similar to the A800 SE. It comes with a proprietary connector here, so it does connect to that cable that I showed earlier, and that then plugs in through what looks like a micro HDMI connector on the actual unit itself and not USB-C. We do have full 360 rotation, so easy vertical adjustment, just no horizontal or actual rotation itself. So you do have to factor that in when it comes to mounting the camera on the rear of the car. Okay, so that's the 3 dash cameras from 70mm. Just to recap, we've got the ultimate 3-channel T800 here. We've got the entry-level A800 SE dual channel, and then we've got a dual channel 4K Omni with the 360 rotation. 70mm also has a number of accessories that are available for all of its suite of cameras, and here are a few of them that they've kindly sent me for this video. Down the bottom here you have 3 polarizing filters for each of the 3 cameras that we're featuring. You have the tiny one for the A800 SE main front-facing camera. Here is the polarizing filter for the T800 main camera. And then finally we have the polarizing filter for the 4K Omni camera with its curved body there as well. All 3 polarizers are going to help with their visual quality of the camera. Totally recommend that you add that to your order. They really do make a big difference in terms of reducing glare of the dash as well as glare from the screen itself. It's going to help with contrast, and it's also going to help protect that lens on the front as well from being scratched should it be accidentally knocked, for example. It's mainly made for that front-facing camera here, and that just literally goes over nice and snug. You can rotate the polarizer there to get that reduction in glare on your dashboard. The A800 SE is obviously a lot more smaller lens, and all these basically push fit on, and then you've got some rotation there to adjust the polarizer to your car interior and get rid of that dashboard glare, and also help protect that lens. The 4K Omni is obviously a bigger lens, a lot more chunky, and it also has that curved form factor, so it has that curved ability on the top there. And again, it's pushed to fit. It fits in there over like that, and again it has that rotation to adjust the polarizer to suit your car interior and the glare inside, improve the colors, and again help protect that lens from being scratched. Now the next accessory is their hardwire kit. This kit basically allows you to add 4G compatibility for remote monitoring of your dash camera in your vehicle. Now it needs to be hardwired, so it comes with the connecting cable to the camera, so not only can it power that camera too, but also this will need to be connected to your car. It has a SIM card tray that you insert a 4G SIM into, then that's the connection to the camera, and then this connection is basically to hardwire the power to power that puck. You can't power it any other way. It will need to be connected to a fuse board to power it. Now I haven't got that ability in my car because it's a leased car, so I won't be able to show you this particular accessory in this install. But you have all the necessary accessories to come with. You've got a SIM card removal tool and manual, the 4G adapter itself, and the cable to connect to the camera. And finally, we've got the battery pack for the dash cam. This basically helps power the dash cam for 24-hour surveillance through the built-in battery that's inside. And in addition, you also have the ability to power this adapter without using a fuse cable, connecting this adapter to the battery pack and then this to your 12-volt adapter, so you can continuously supply power and recharge that battery back up. Now it has 7,500 milliamp hours, which doesn't seem quite a lot, but it will be enough to continuously allow that camera to be recorded. Also, it's also being powered back up with the car. Now that means that it is a very heavy battery. You can plug that underneath your car seat, for example. It comes with all the necessary cables to power the battery from a fuse board and your car internal battery. But if you don't want to use that, then as I said earlier, you can pair it with that cable instead, which is sold separately. You've got a DC in for that cable, and you also have a 12-volt out to connect it to additional source. Then you've got also a 5-volt out to the camera as well. LED indicator lights here to let you know that the status of the battery power currently, but there's nothing else on the other side, nothing else on top, no mounting ability of that battery other than some Velcro strips that come supplied. So I'd say if that's a significant thing that you'll need in terms of a power source, then this battery bank will definitely help give those dash cameras the ability to have continuous recording whilst you're not in the car. So that's all three cameras, all with their polarizers fitted. Let's jump in the car now, mount them all up, and then we can compare their image quality. So I'll see you there. Right, so with the Cooper Born, I've mounted up every single camera currently. We've got the T800, the A800 SC, and the 4K Omni, all installed at the front. All the three rear cameras have also been installed in the back. I've set all their configurations to their maximum resolution, so 4K. As for installation, nice and simple. All the electrostatic stickers help with the installation and alignment. As for the rear, the mounting is pretty much self-explanatory. Accessing their software via the app, super quick, super efficient. Both access to their Wi-Fi networks were no problem. Right, it's now started to rain, unfortunately, so let's get out on the road. We're going to do some daytime in the Overcast. Hopefully tomorrow will be a bit more sunny, and then also some nighttime, and we can compare all that quality of all three cameras afterwards. Okay, let's view all those captures together, and I'll come back with my final impressions. So I'll see you then. Capture right. Capture right. Capture right. Right, so I'm back after some time with the 3 cameras from 70mi. Overall, my impressions are very good. All 3 cameras are definitely capable dash cameras for your car. All good quality with solid daytime recording. Like most dash cameras, they do suffer a little bit with nighttime recording though. And if there isn't that much light or you're traveling over say 30 miles an hour, then the quality does degrade quite a lot, even with the Sony Starvis 2 sensors. As you saw in the content, the A800 SE does suffer a little bit more than the rest, and the T800's 4K rear dash camera does make it a lot more superior than the other 2 with their 1080p rear cameras. So if rear recording is specifically important for you, then the T800 is definitely the one to consider. Mounting was definitely easy across all of the cameras. I'd say the T800's thicker rear cable does make it a little bit harder to offer decent cable management, because of that thicker cable does make it a little bit harder to force into some of the car interior, and it's a bit harder to bend around tighter areas as well. The other 2 cameras do have a much thinner cable, so the rear camera cable management is a lot easier. I found the X800, or also known as the 4K Omni. This camera was definitely a nice camera in terms of its rotation. I really like that you could actually tell it to go left, right, ahead, and also internally as well, should you want to capture particular angles of the car. The most important thing though is the mounting and where you mount that in the car, so that camera can get the right angles left and right out of your car to make that left and right ability actually justified. But as for the internal camera, it's good if you want to do any sort of internal vlogging and then flip that back to the front of the car. So it's actually quite good if you were to make content with this particular camera. However, a couple of issues I found was its left facing or right facing once it's been mounted. The cable management, I would have preferred that at the top. So it's got a much nicer way of actually exiting those cables. Also, as you might have heard in that capture footage, the audio quality was very quiet and I didn't really see any means to adjust that volume. And also I found its ADAS support a little bit over keen, triggering lots of false positives or situations that you've already been told of like seconds earlier. So earlier we looked at the Overcast footage, which all of them handled very well. I found that the T800 had slightly higher exposure, so it's a bit higher in its brightness than the other 2 cameras. The T800 also had a bit higher contrast. It was a little bit higher in saturation. And overall with that exposure, I found that the A800 was the darkest, followed by the T800, and then followed by the Omni as well, was the lightest of them all in that overcast conditions. Across all 3, I found the X800 to have a little bit more natural in colour, overcast conditions. But switching to the rear camera, I found the X800 rear camera appeared a little bit more blurry, like it had a lower frames per second, or just generally the sensor just wasn't quick enough, so it was getting like a blurrier image than the other 2 cameras. Again, in the rear camera, the contrast was a little bit more natural on the A800 SE, whilst the T800s was a little bit oversaturated, a little bit more saturated than I would have preferred, and was also a little bit washed out too. I'd say the T800's overall quality was the least sharpest, and that's because of its 4K quality camera. It's not actually upscaling it on this particular footage on this video, and it's recording it natively in 4K as well, so it doesn't really need to be doing any of that enhanced sharpening. I'd say the light bloom at night time was probably the worst on the A800, probably due to that sensor and the software with that sensor compressing all that content of footage. Then the X800 and then the T800 was probably the best for just general light bloom, light bleed, both in daytime and at night. So as quality goes, the T800 is the clear winner, just because of its all-round 4K content, front and rear, than the other 2 cameras. Now switching to nighttime, I found the A800 to be slightly more saturated than the T800 and the X800, which again seemed a little bit more natural in terms of their colour. Even with the lowest aperture, I found the overall footage to be much less exposed, so everything felt a lot darker in both near and far detail at nighttime recording. The T800 in contrast had a lot less reflection, even with both polarizers fitted, and it did handle the nighttime street lights and oncoming car bloom a little bit better as well. So again, overall the T800 was better at night. But low light and speed were all of their issues in the rear cameras. Neither really did well when it goes over say 30 miles an hour and with very poor light. The rear at night, I did probably prefer the X800, even though it was a 1080p camera feed. And the A800 SE generally had very lackluster performance in its rear camera, even though it was a similar 1080p camera, but obviously with a different camera sensor. And then finally, we did a full sunny day. This is where all 3 cameras shined. They all had very good quality 4K footage out the front of their cameras, and not bad performance in the rear cameras too, both at speed. The T800 with its 4K rear camera definitely obviously is a lot better. The T800 felt a little bit more sharper than the A800 SE, even though they were showing the same kind of 4K content. Obviously the A800 was obviously running under a different sensor, but generally, like for like, other than their field of view, they were very close to each other. When looking back at some stationary content or freeze framing at stationary and switching between all 3 cameras, I did find the X800 to be a little bit more blurred when stationary, wasn't as sharp as the T800 and the A800 in their still 4K content. And the A800 was definitely a few steps under it in exposure, so the whole entire feed was a little bit darker than the other 2 cameras. But all 3 wide dynamic range were pretty much all level pegging across all 3 cameras, with no particular camera doing better than the other. And then finally at the rear with the 4K camera quality, at daylight the rear camera of the T800 definitely seemed far less processed and a little bit more nicer to look at with its 4K quality, also retaining that detail should you need it in the rear cabin. The X800 definitely had a little more natural colour than all the other 2 cameras, and the A800 SE did have that slightly smaller field of view in the rear, and it was a lot more grainy than the X800 rear camera at the same 1080p. So the T800 currently retails for $299.99, currently on sale on Amazon, down from $409.99, and it's definitely 70mi's flagship dash camera that carries all the bells and whistles and generally has the better quality throughout, both in front and rear, and you also got that internal cabin camera that can also be quite handy too, along with its 4G connection ability as well as its bundled 512GB SD card. That's generally a good all-round price if you're willing to go all out with that higher price. The 4K Omni X800 retails for $259.99 on sale at the moment, down from $339.99, and that comes with a 128GB SD card. Again, a great camera, a good all-rounder, I would say middle round, with that ability of that 360. If you do think that you'll utilize that 360 camera, then that's a very good solution with voice control. You don't have to interact with an app or anything. You can actually tell it to turn under voice, which is really capable and works relatively well. That sound issue though was the major drawback, I would say, with that camera. So if internal sound is an important thing to you, if you're vlogging with that and you're not using a secondary microphone, then it's probably not the best camera for that purpose. And its general quality with its rear facing camera at 1080p is a slight step down from the T800, whilst only being $40 less. So you might as well pay the extra $40. You've got that internal facing camera as well, which is good quality and a better overall package for me personally. But if you're on the budget, the A800 SE currently retails for $179.99, and it also comes bundled with a 128GB card. Generally though, if you are scrimping on the money and you're looking for a budget camera option, actually the A800 SE is definitely capable. It's up there in daylight recording alongside the T800, but as soon as you get to low light recording or no light and you're relying on nighttime footage, both in front and rear, then I would definitely add a little extra money and go for the 4K Omni or the T800, because that quality is a lot better improved, especially on the T800 with its 4K rear dash camera. So what would I buy if their money was no object? I would definitely choose the T800. However, the 4K Omni does have that nice ability with that swivel lens, should you need that requirement. But hopefully you've seen all these 3 cameras and you should now know which is the best one for your own situation in the car. So I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, give us a like down below and let me know if you have any questions about any of these 3 cameras in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer them. If you like this type of content and you'd like to support my channel, you can do so by sending us a super thanks down below with your comment or question. You can hype this video for free, or you can check out this QR code up here to buy me a coffee, and you can support me there too. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.